it's Tenitsu, and today we'll be getting into part 4 of What If Naruto Was no Otsutsuki. For part 5, the like goal is the same as previously, so 20 likes, but without further ado, let's just get straight into part 4. Now, like always, we'll start this part off with a little recap of the previous part, in which Naruto had almost killed Haku but stopped himself before, because of the calming nature of the whitish blue chakra, and then Haku sacrificed himself protecting Zabuza, and Naruto used Talk no Jutsu for the first time. After this, Naruto met one of the legendary Sannin, that being Jiraiya, of course, and began training with the legendary Toad Sage. Now Naruto had just defeated one of the legendary Sannin, although Orochimaru was not giving it his all, and was now rushing toward the tower to complete the mission. The story now begins as Naruto finally arrives at the tower and lays his two passed out teammates next to him as he finally opens the scroll, and out comes Iruka sensei? Iruka was about to congratulate the team on passing, but then he saw Sasuke with a mark on his neck and picked him up, not knowing he had to rush him to Kakashi to get him checked out. As in this would have, Sasuke had no chance to wake up and clubber the Sun Ninja, so for now he was still passed out. Iruka was about to take Hinata as well, but Naruto told him, "She's fine." Then Iruka nodded and explained, "Alright then, I'll take him to the hospital now. You have a 1 week break before the next stage, so be sure to train hard, and just where they are meeting up, etc." And then he smiled at Naruto, pat him on the shoulder, and told him, "Good job." Then left to bring Sasuke to the hospital as quickly as possible and inform Kakashi about this. For now, Naruto just left Hinata a note, informing her about the 1 week break and where the next stage of the exam would be taking place, with the date and his signature on it. When Hinata woke up, she read the message and would place the note in her pocket, knowing she'll cherish this note for a very long time. Back at Naruto's point of view, he had ran toward where he sensed Jiraiya's energy, and was not at the hot springs, which was actually very uncommon, but he was actually in the plains, him meditating. Naruto sensed some weird energy around him, and suddenly Jiraiya got some very faint red markings until it all disappeared, and Jiraiya swore loudly. Naruto was interested in this. He felt such a strong chakra source around Jiraiya. He always felt this chakra, but it was quite strange. He had never felt it this concentrated. But that was of no matter, as Naruto had more important things to say, and walked up to Jiraiya and told him, "Hey, previous sage, we've got a week off again. I want to train again." Jiraiya nodded, stood up, then smiled. "How about we train more with that jutsu?" Naruto nodded in excitement as they began their training. We now skip ahead a week, and we see everyone in the third stage of the Chunin exams. Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata all arrived at around the same time, as Sasuke was notified of the time and place beforehand, was able to train a lot more than in the original, having already started his training with Kakashi, and having his curse mark sealed away. Now, a few join insert to explain the third stage, but as we all know what this third stage will be, we'll just skip that, as we'll just get into the first fight, which was announced almost instantly after everyone, except for the two fighters, took their seats. First fight, Naruto Uzumaki, Kiba Inuzuka. The voice shouted through the stadium as Naruto and Kiba walked into the fight, and Naruto stretched out his hand to show respect, but Kiba just scoffed and shook it with as much force as he could. It was clear Kiba had way too much confidence for his own good, and so the countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Go! And Naruto flew at Kiba so fast that Kiba couldn't even comprehend him, and punched him once, instantly knocking him out. Wait, what? Naruto looked at the passed out Kiba and looked around a little sheepishly. Naruto apparently wasn't the only stunned one, as the entire crowd was silent, until a few people started cheering, making him smile, and they went on to the next fight, then the next, and so on. Sasuke's fight was still similar to the original, so we'll just skip that too, but now we'll be getting into some interesting part. That being Hinata versus Neji. Now, Hinata got a severe jump in motivation after seeing how strong Naruto was, and began training 10 times harder than before. She was actually becoming a lot stronger, and that showed after the countdown as she performed her first ever self-created jutsu. Gentle Step, Lion Fist, which was a weaker version of the Twin Lion Fists, which she had not been able to develop yet. But the jutsu still gave an alright increase to attack potency, and so the next fight truly began as they started exchanging hands, and Hinata did a lot better than Neji expected, but he just scoffed and began getting more serious, actually hurting Hinata a lot in the process, even causing her to bleed. Naruto began to grip on the iron bars that kept him from the arena so hard that they started to get crushed under his hand. Another jab from Neji right into Hinata's stomach, then another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and Hinata just kept on being beaten up by the ruthless Neji, until suddenly his hand was stopped, as Hinata's bleeding became worse. And who stopped it? Naruto did. And the arena suddenly began to shake, as his eyes turned from their usual blue into slitted blood red, and he began to crush Neji's finger with his grasp. And it actually hurt Neji a ton, but Naruto released him and told him, I'll make you pay for that. Neji began his speech about how Naruto was a failure, but Naruto just flicked his forehead, leaving a pretty big mark there, which hurt a ton, and walked off scowling. He didn't even notice the entire arena shaking like crazy just because of his anger as he stepped out. His rage was immense, and he was going to make sure Neji paid for that one severely. For every unneeded hit Neji placed on Hinata, he would give two back. No three, no four, no five, and he will not stop. But as that isn't happening for another month, we'll just skip ahead another month to the finale of the tuning exams, that being the third stage, and now with everyone who had won the first time was held, and the first fight would be first fight Naruto Uzumaki, Neji Hyuga. Naruto smirked as he walked out, and so did Neji, as the two faced each other and both shook hands. But the arena was already settled in anticipation, and the so much anticipated countdown began. 3, 2, 1, go! And Naruto activated his Byakugan, which confused Neji. This man was no Hyuga, but his eyes did always look like one of theirs. He had probably stolen them. How dare he! Neji grimaced as he activated his own Byakugan. I began teasing Naruto. Look at you, the failure against the prodigy. How interesting. He smirked as he flew at Naruto, attempting to use the 64 palm technique to shut him down instantly, but Naruto easily caught every single one of his jabs and threw them back as he punched Neji once, throwing him into the wall, then began performing his own style of the Hyugas. Naruto style, 100 palms, he said as he began jabbing at every chakra point he saw with his Byakugan, completely shutting Neji down and winning the fight and telling him, look at what this so-called failure did. How could you think doing that to Hinata was proving anything? And Neji just grimaced further, but Naruto continued, be a man, Neji. Accept your errors. Accept your defeat. Then Naruto walked off, leaving Neji behind, who had a single tear in his eye, as Neji finally accepted that he was truly in the wrong. After this, he had also learned why his father had died, making him fully realize he had messed up. Now, the next important fight to us will be Sasuke against Gaara, which was almost skipped because Sasuke was not showing up, but as they were about to announce that it was skipped, Sasuke showed up in the middle of the arena, with Kakashi behind him with a new look, and looking a lot more confident now, and so the fight with Gaara finally began. The start of the fight was pretty one-sided, as Gaara used his sand to block any taijutsu attack coming from Sasuke, but it was very difficult to do, as Sasuke was seemingly the exact copy of Rock Lee without his weights, even matching his speed, making Guy Sensei rather upset, as Lee had worked so hard on this, but that was of no matter. Perhaps Sasuke just had more power of youth, as suddenly a blue light filled the arena, as Sasuke flew at Gaara with his newly acquired Chidori, and was actually able to pierce Gaara's sand armor, making Gaara bleed a little, and suddenly he began to freak out, going into a partial transformation with half of his body slowly becoming covered in sand. Some of the entire stands were cast under Genjutsu, with just the Jonin, a few Chunin, and certain Genin not being caught in the Genjutsu. The people who weren't caught under this Genjutsu, who were Genin, were Sakura Haruno, Neji and Hinata Hyuga, Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki, and a few absolutely not important people. Out of nowhere, Gaara started to sprint away, and because the third Hokage seemed to have gone somewhere, Naruto and Sasuke decided they'll go after Guard together, and so they ran after him at full speed, although Naruto was holding back so he could be at the same speed that Sasuke was, and suddenly they ran right into him, in the forest where the fight began. Sasuke was overconfident at first, and told Naruto to stay back, as he'd fight Gaara himself, with his Chidori, so Sasuke flew at Gaara and began to taijutsu battle him. But every time he tried, Gaara just punched him away, and even when he attempted to use his new legendary Chidori, Gaara was still able to fling him away. Every time Naruto tried to step in, Sasuke shuddered him to stay back, as this was his fight. But after a while, Sasuke was flung into a tree so hard that he began to pass out, and Naruto started to feel a little furious. But at least the fight was over now, so he could finally step in. Gaara would leave Sasuke alone. I mean, he wouldn't want to kill him, right? Wrong. Gaara jumped towards Sasuke and attempted to murder him right on the spot, but Naruto jumped in front of Gaara and punched him so hard that the sand on his body broke apart, and he was flung into a tree, completely breaking it. And then he was flung into the next, and broke through 10 trees at once. Looking at Naruto, his eyes were slitted and blood red, and he was covered in orange chakra. How dare you try to kill Sasuke? And before Gaara knew it, Naruto was right in front of him again, and made five shadow clones, which all began to beat up Gaara. But suddenly Gaara finally snapped, and transformed into the full One-Tails. However, Naruto wasn't phased, as he just performed a few hand signs, bit his finger, then used the summoning jutsu, and out of nowhere, the gigantic Gamabunta appeared, who, with the help of Naruto, transformed into the Nine-Tails, looking exactly like it, but without its power, then ran towards the One-Tails, stopping it from moving as Naruto flew at Gaara and punched him right in the forehead. Then both of them crashed to the ground as the One-Tails disappeared. And as Gaara lay there, starting to bleed from his head, Naruto walked over and told him, "It's almost unbearable, isn't it? That pain of being all alone. I know that feeling, I've been there. And that dark and lonely place. But now there are others. Other people who mean a lot to me. I care more about them than I do myself. And I won't let anyone hurt them. That's why I'll never give up. I will stop you, even if I have to kill you. But why? Why would you do this for someone else? They saved they saved me from myself. They rescued me from loneliness. They were the first to accept me as who I am. They're my friends." And so Gaara was finally cured of his intense heartbreak and hatred, and was finally able to accept his past, then being taken back to the sand by Tamari and Kankuro, who he thanked. In another part of the village, the third Hokage was killed. Now I hope you all enjoyed this part. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. But without further ado, this is Tenitsu, and I am out.